Like, I remember when the money wasn't there, first me say you 50, I got you, man.
They still do that.
Gave my lawyer money there, when I fight my case. Man, I ain't gotta get into all that, but bro made sure he made a way for me to be straight.
Lil Durk held it down for Jam like familia until Jam flipped the script and betrayed him. Now everything has changed. A new video just dropped and it's going viral. It shows Jamon's a trusted soldier and Durk's cam begging for his life. It's raw, emotional, and it has the internet buzzing with one question. Is this the end of Jam? Because if there's one thing we know about Lil Durk, it's that he doesn't forgive betrayal. Jam went from being one of Durk's most loyal day ones to possibly becoming the rat that jeopardized the whole operation, and now the streets are calling for consequences. But to understand the full weight of this, we've got to rewind best. This isn't just some random dude who got caught up in street politics. Jam and Durk go way back. We're talking childhood friends from Chicago, Somi Bloxam, Strugglesome Pain. They grew up together serving poverty violencen, the chaos that forges street loyalty. In a 2023 interview with DJ Jared, Jam described Durk as a brother. They weren't just making music, they were building something real, performing at block parties and community events long before Durk blew up. But now that
I remember when the money wasn't there, first me say you 50, I got you, man.
They still do that.
back then, Lil Durk was just another hungry kid from Chicago trying to turn his pain into bars. There were no record deals, no federal indictments, no Lanestis too. Young homies grinding side by side, dreaming about making it out of the trenches. Durk and Jam weren't thinking about family, we're thinking about survival, brothered loyalty. But life in Chicago doesn't play fair. In 2010, Jam was only 17 when he caught an attempted murder charge. The system hit him hard with a 12-year sentence. We won't get into the details of that, cause that's between him and the streets, but what happened next speaks volumes. This is where most friendships fall apart. A decade plus behind bars, people move on. They build new lives, find new friends, forget the ones doing time. The calls slow down, visit stoppen before long gets like you never existed. But Durk, he moved different. As his career exploded and the money started rolling, Durk never turned his back on Jam, and it wasn't just about commissary or a couple phone calls. It was real loyalty, kind you rarely see anymore. While other rappers won't even support their own family behind bars, Durk was out here paying Jam's legal fees, keeping him connected and making sure he had what he needed to survive that 12-year stretch. That's not regular. That's legendary.
Lawyer money there, when I'm fighting my case, I ain't gotta get into all that, but bro made sure.
But the financial support, that was just the beginning. When Jam finally walked out of those prison gates in February 2022, Lil Durk had a full-blown welcome home package waiting, something most people only dream about. First, Durk bought him a house. Not just a roof over his head, but a real home, a place where Jam could rebuild his life, find peace, and finally have some stability after spending over a decade behind bars. Then came the car. Durk made sure Jam had the freedom to move around, handle his business, and start fresh on his own terms. But even that wasn't enough for Durk. He topped it off by handing Jam $50,000 in straight cashes, a welcome home gift, no strings attached. 50 grand just like that. That's more money than most people touch in a whole year end. Durk gave it away like it was nothing. Why? Because to him loyalty isn't cheap, it's everything. And Jam wasn't just a friend, was family.
Jam get out that Jam and give him 50, he ain't gotta ask again, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? He ain't gotta ask.
But this was never just about money or material things. Durk went a step further, brought Jam into the family circle as an artist. He gave him real opportunities, fairing him on tracks like No Complaints and Focus in 2022 and 2023. It wasn't just a co-signet, it was a lifeline. A legitimate shot at building a career, staying out of trouble, and creating something for himself. Everything seemed to line up. Jam was home. He had support stability, a spot in one of the most successful rap collectives out of Chicago. More importantly, had the kind of loyalty most street dudes never get to experience. Durk stood by him when no one else would. It was supposed to be a redemption story, a happy ending, but then October 24th, 22 for happened and everything fell apart. That's when Lil Durk was arrested in Florida on federal murder for hire charges, not state charges, not some minor street beef. Federer, the kind of case that can take your life away without parole. The indictment was tied to a 2022 plot allegedly targeting Quando Rondo, a scheme that ended in the death of Rondo's cousin, Lowell Pab Robinson. Along with Durk, 5 other FF members were swept up. And when the feds move in on a case like this, they don't come empty-handed. They bring evidence, serial evidence, surveillance, phone taps, documents, on wire recordings, the kind of stuff that buries people. That's when the whisper started, because the feds knew too much. They knew details that only insiders would have. The streets started asking, who was talking, who was cooperating, who flipped, and all eyes turned to Jam. After Durk's arrest, rumors began to swirl, serious ones. Word on the street was that Jam had been cooperating with authorities, not just recently but allegedly for years. Allegedly wearing a wire, allegedly gathering dirt on Durk and the whole OTF movement. And it wasn't just internet trolls stirring the pot. The accusations were echoed by real industry voices. DJ Akad Mixwack, 100, and King Yella. These are names with reach. They don't speak without sources. When they talk, people listen, and what they were saying had the whole game on.
Played this bar for sure, man. Overplayed it. I love Brooklyn.
DJ Academics claimed Jam had been wearing a wire ever since his release in 2022. Whack 100 doubled down, saying Jam flipped after catching a new gun charge in it, long after getting out. The theory, Jam got jammed up again, and instead of risking another long prison stretch, cut a deal with the feds. But the most explosive moment came on October 30, 2024, when a video went viral, a clip that allegedly showed Jam acting nervous around Durk. It wasn't what he said, but how he moved. People on social media were quick to dissect the footage as zeroing in on his body language. One comment summed up the sentiment: "They must can't read body language, Jay. Moving hella weird." That video became the so-called smoking gun. Too many watching Jam didn't look like a loyal friend. He looked like a man with something to hide, like someone who might have been wearing a wire. Recording everything gave meeting gave conversation a very moment of trust for the federal government. Then came the paperwork. A newly unsealed indictment filed in a U.S. District Court in Los Angeles hinted that an FF member had been acting as a confidential informant. Jam wasn't mentioned by name, but people familiar with how these cases work knew what that meant. The feds use initials and aliases to protect cooperators until trial time, but this wasn't just about legal strategy. This was personal. This wasn't some distant associate or background affiliate. This was family. A man Durk had lifted up, supported through 12 years behind bars, and welcomed back into his life with open arms. If the allegations were true, it meant that every word Durk spoke to Jam, every plan, sheriff, story, vulnerable moment, midfeed, been fed straight into a federal case. That's what made the betrayal hit so hard.
A lot when all this came out, man. You know, there's been a lot of allegations, you know, about people snitching. You know, so the main person they're talking about snitching is OTF Jam.